Can you use a Dreadnought guitar to play fingerstyle blues? Should you? As an acoustic blues teacher, I get asked some variation of this question a lot, and my first answer is pretty much always the same. Use the one you have. If you have a Dreadnought or a Jumbo or even a travel guitar laying around, you've got what you need to get started. Great blues has been played on pretty much any type of guitar, and besides, you can get something else after you know the basics and you know what type of music you're going to play and how you're going to play it. But in the beginning, anything can work, so just grab what you have and get started, assuming you have something. So what if you don't have something and you know you're going to play fingerstyle blues, or you're at that stage where you want to fine-tune things and get a guitar that matches your style? So first, let's put this notion of a fingerstyle guitar to the test by looking at my Dreadnought and my OM guitar. Can we actually play fingerstyle blues on the Dread? Both of these are made by Larrivee and both have a Sitka spruce top, but that's pretty much where the similarities kind of begin and end. The DO5, the Dreadnought, has mahogany back and sides, while the OM has East Indian rosewood. And obviously the shape is different. The OM has a narrower waist and smaller upper and lower bouts. They're just not as wide across as the Dreadnought. And the OM's body is only 4 inches deep, whereas the Dreadnought's is 5 inches deep. So the Dreadnought's larger size is supposed to make it louder and project more and give a bit of boom in the low end. Let's hear this. I'm hoping this comes across, but when I pick up the Dreadnought, I notice that extra low end, and you could hear it in that sample when I strummed that G major chord and hit the 6th string. The bass just kind of stands out. But let's put this up against the OM now. I think the bass was there too, maybe a little quieter and maybe even a little bit muddy there at the end with that 5th string B note included in the chord, something I don't always do. But is this enough to confirm that sort of common knowledge that Dreadnoughts are just bassier? I don't know, let's keep going, but as we do, keep this in mind. This is not meant to be a scientific experiment where all of the variables except for the shape of the guitar are controlled. Not at all. This is just a fun look at these two particular guitars, and at the end of the video, I'm going to give you my biggest tip as to why you might choose one over the other. And speaking of that, smaller bodied guitars are supposed to be better for fingerstyle playing, right? The low end isn't supposed to be quite as boomy as in the larger shapes like the Dreadnought, and this means that the sound is supposed to be more balanced. Let's look into that. All right, what do you think? Do you prefer one of those sounds over the other? Let me know down in the comments. I honestly like both of them. And I mean, they're both my guitars, so I guess that's a really good thing, right? And they're definitely different, but I don't think the Dreadnought sounded bad at all when fingerpicked. It sounded pretty good, and I like that extra low end. So if the Dreadnought sounds good when fingerpicked, why wouldn't you use it for fingerstyle blues? And why don't I use my Dreadnought on these acoustic blues? blues lessons. The main reason is comfort. When I play fingerstyle blues on the Dreadnought, everything feels tight. The strings are closer together on the Dreadnought. The nut width and the saddle spacing have a lot to do with that. Here on this particular Dreadnought, the nut is 1 11/16 inches wide and the saddle spacing is 2 3/16 inches. Now, if we compare that to the OM, the nut width is 1 3/4 inches and the saddle spacing is 2 1/4. So if you look at those numbers, they don't seem all that far apart, but that really translates to just enough extra space in between the strings here where I'm picking that makes this feel comfortable for me. Plus, for me, my shoulder stays in a bit more neutral position when resting on the smaller bout of an OM guitar compared to the larger bout of the Dreadnought. My shoulder just kind of comes up a little bit like that. And when playing for a while, that's uncomfortable for me. So for me, the OM is the perfect shape. It's comfortable in terms of the string spacing because I like to finger pick a lot, and also because of the overall size of the body. And I believe that the best guitar for you is the one that you're going to play, and a big reason is that it has to feel good. If it's uncomfortable for you, you might not play it at all. What's comfortable for you might be a bigger guitar than this, or maybe even smaller than this OM, something like a parlor. Maybe you need the larger string spacing like I do to help you get in between the strings and do the finger picking thing. Or maybe you're not interested in that, or maybe even smaller string spacing is just fine for you because you have smaller hands. The best way to really find that perfect guitar that fits you is to play as many as you can. So if you have a local music shop, if you're lucky enough to have one of those, just go by and play as many different shapes as possible. Play the same piece of music on each guitar and really pay attention to how it feels in your lap and how your fingers get into the strings. Is it comfortable for you? Is it something that you could see yourself playing for maybe hours on end? If it's not comfortable, keep looking. And if it is, then I hope you found your perfect match. I did with this one, and I hope that you find yours. I hope that this video helps you find it in some way, and I'll see you around until the next video. Until then, practice smart and play on.